Yeah. I love my HBCU. And boy, I love it, love it. I love it, love it. I love my HBCU. And man, I hope my team they won one. Yeah. I hope my team they won one. Yeah. Man. I hope my team they won one. I hope my team they won one. Yeah. I tune into the HBCU Sports Lab to see if my team won or lost. If they lost, I'm quiet as a mouse. But if they won, keep tab. I'ma do the dab, yeah. Dr. Cavil, he know what he be talking about. Mike and Charles, they know what they be talking about. They compress the analytic data with this hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they won or lost, and who the ball, So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Cavil with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington, Charles Bishop. With the Inside the HBCU Sports Lab show. Welcome to episode 720 of Inside the HBCU Sports Lab radio show and podcast, a show that's covering the sporting HBCU dash for all things HBCU sports institutions, large and small. From the NAIA to the NCAA, we share insights and information on the HBCU sports culture, HBCU athletic aesthetics to facilitate the story of HBCU athletic programs in the business of HBCU sports. I'm your host, Dr. Cavil, along with my co-host, Mike Washington, Charles Bishop. Actually, Mike may be out on assignment as he's moving around. You see, I'm actually in the airport in Norfolk, but we do have AD Drew. We're coming from our remote locations as we travel this weekend to see our HBCU programs and doing the work behind the scenes. But want to give a shout out to, as we always talk about, Hall of Famer Ralph Cooper. The Texas Radio Hall of Famer, multi-Hall of Famer Ralph Cooper, from the beautiful home of Texas Southern University from Houston, Texas, around the world. With that being said, let's bring everybody on so we can go ahead and get things started, give you your updates. We will release week number 6 in the HBCU sporting diaspora, the top 7. Today's episode inside HBCU sponsored by TA. PhD agency is a that provides sports consulting. With that being said, good morning, Charles.
Oh, good morning, Doc. How you doing this morning? See you back in the airport.
Doing well. Yeah, moving around, trying to get home.
Up and looks like we lost Dr. Cavil there, Charles. But
okay. Well, I mean, I will get him back on in a second, AD. But I mean, tell you what, a lot of exciting action when you take a look at the SWAC, MEAC, CIAA, and SIAC yesterday. But overall, what were your impressions from yesterday? Were there any surprises? Were there any things that caught your eye?
Well, and Dr. Cavil looks like he's coming back. But the one thing that caught my eye was some of the scores yesterday. We had blowouts in games that we thought we were going to be competitive. You know, last week we saw the blowouts on the lower level, the Division II level, specifically in the SIAC and the CIAA. This week, well, SWAC blowouts ruled.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, we had
except for the one game that everybody thought was going to be a blowout was a 1-pointer.
Right. We had a 50-point game. A couple of 3 to be exact, where teams scored over 50 points. So it's pretty wild when you talk about these scores, and they just kept going. As AD Drew talked about, many of them we probably leaned towards who was going to win the game, but the way they did it, and it sets up for a big matchup that we were kind of looking forward to. It sets it up for this weekend. So I'm going to go to you, Charles. What were your thoughts in terms of when you got a chance to see the scores and actually, obviously, the game that you were calling?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the calling game, Purview and Alcorn, but as you saw the ticker, you started seeing the score and you were like, you know, Alabama State, you know, they ready. And then you looked up and you saw the ticker and Jackson State, you know, it was like, hold my beer. So it was kind of interesting to see, the juxtaposition of both of those schools doing what they needed to do. But best believe the champs were still champion last night.
Oh boy, I tell you, I will say Alabama State did certainly enter the picture and said that they are at least you would think ready for that fight. It'll be interesting to see 4 quarters, or if it even may take additional to see what that looks like. So I'm fascinated about that matchup. Before we get too far ahead of ourselves, let's kind of review and let me go to you, Drew, and talk about this weekend because one of your schools had a big win as well.
Can I throw one more thing out?
Yes.
Let's talk is getting real now. Charles, there are gonna be some people looking at do we have a home volleyball match this weekend?
Yeah, what are we looking in the SWAC volleyball tournament? SWAC
when is that first basketball exhibition? Is it it at home or is it on the road?
Yeah.
Heck, somebody might even decide to go out and follow a cross country team or the women's soccer team or something like that, because some teams, some fan bases that are so used to being relevant, and it's kind of sad after 2-3 weeks of conference play, depending on which conference you're talking about, that people are out of the race who are traditionally the names that come out of our mouths. And other people like, all right, we just waiting on them to fall off, but damn, they keep winning.
Exactly. Surprised that. With that being said, let's look at some Big Ben Cavil helmet stickers. Charles, who you are giving your helmet sticker to?
I gotta go with Jacoby Morgan. I mean, he had a huge game on yesterday. When you take a look at what he was able to do in the air, 300 yards in the air, over 100 yards on the ground, like 400 yards of offense. Jackson State, over 700 yards of total offense yesterday. So my helmet sticker goes out to Jacoby Morgan. He was he caught a little bit of flack, in the first part of the season, or first quarter pole of the season, but over the past 2 games, he's been over 300 yards over the past 2 games, and that Jackson State offense is finally up and humming.
Man, he threw some beautiful passes and made some big-time moves. I'll have to agree with you in terms of the helmet sticker. Jacoby Morgan getting it done. Drew, what direction you going in terms of your helmet sticker?
I'm staying in house, Dr. Cavil. How about Scott from Morehouse? 22 of 35 on the day, 326 yards, hit pay dirt 4 times, did throw 1 INT, and then he had the nerve to rush the ball 7 times for 41 yards on top of it. So, sometime this afternoon, I will be spitting his name for Conference Player of the Week.
Mm-hmm.
No doubt. Good job in terms of doing that. I'm going to give a helmet sticker to Raiden Davis, Hampton. Got a big win that I got to see here over Norfolk State. 200 total yards, 16 of 28. Really played well. The whole entire team rushed for 239 yards, so a lot of credit goes there. I also want to give some credit to the Prairie View defense, their entire defense in terms of what they were able to do. I know maybe some of these stats may be a little bit off, but generally speaking, on the defensive side, those are usually pretty solid. But they held an Alcorn team that likes to run the ball, that needs to run the ball, to under 100 yards rushing, 94 yards in terms of their game, and 270 yards in terms of total offense. So getting a lot of stuff done in terms of Prairie View, and they needed every bit of it as it was a field goal that just came a little bit short that allowed Prairie View to get out of the reservation with a victory to go to 3-0 in the division. So helmet stickers to the defense of Prairie View A&M University are showing themselves while the offense is still kind of figuring it out in different ways and doing just enough to win. Credit there, which is obviously one of the main things that you want to do in the stats column. But the defense is certainly making sure that they keep teams in there. And there'll be a chance later on this season, no matter what's going on with Alabama State, that's interesting in terms of what Alabama State is able to do offensively and what Prairie View is able to do defensively. I know they got a couple of things they want to take care of in the division first, but that's fascinating. One to kind of push forward and look. Drew?
I was gonna say Steve threw out a helmet sticking honorary nominee. He
What
has
is
Curtis Allen, who
Oh
had
yeah,
229 yards and 4 scores for Virginia Union.
absolutely.
Uh, I think Steve could give a firsthand account of those 229 yards in that particular matchup. So, anytime somebody does it to you and you still give them the helmet sticker award, I got to lean on that one, Steve.
Yeah, I give Steve a lot of credit. Credit where credit is due. Also, Virginia Panthers got it done behind those yardage that the young man picked up, 44 to 34, getting it done. So shout out in terms of what that looks like. Um, West Virginia lost. We thought they were going to get that victory. They lost 47-41. So you won't have to worry about them in the top seven probably on Tuesday. No, we're way ahead of myself there. But y'all had a little concern there, so I thought I'd bring you the update. Central State over Fort Valley to give you some of these mid-major updates. Fascinating to see
All right,
what took place
all
there.
right, Steve. We can't take the personal shots now. I gave you credit now, Steve. Now you want to make it personal, man. We can't be doing this.
Oh boy, Steve just don't know how to act. And Albany State to go around just keep running 47 to 44. And then Benedict had a intriguing game with Allen, but they found a way to get out of there. Boy, I tell you, that was fascinating. Went back and forth. They kind of jumped out on him, and then going back and forth. He was like, "Man, what's going on?" Allen is showing that they want to be in it, but Benedict just finds a ways to win, whether it's low scoring or putting up a lot of points. They get it done. So I thought that was fascinating too, as Benedict wins 38-28 final there. Anything else, Charles, in terms of some specific games that kind of stood out to you? I know you gave a helmet sticker to a player, but a particular game that fascinated you in terms of what took place.
Well, I'm gonna go to a particular play, and it was a play that probably saved the day, I think, for Prairie View. Kennedy Parker had a huge sack for Prairie View that kind of pushed Alcorn out just out of field goal range. And as you saw, the field goal came up a couple of yards short, but it was a huge sack. It was a game-turning play with regards to Prairie View beating Alcorn yesterday. Beat his man around the outside, but that was a huge defensive play that really kind of turned the tide because if things were working in Alcorn's favor yesterday, but we'll see, with regards to that, is that a fan base that's probably going to be on the ledge today?
Yeah, we'll do that next segment.
Yeah.
I know you teasing it out. That might be the easy one. AD Drew, what else you got?
My last one, Central State, 2 in a row. They defeated Fort Valley on Fort Valley's homecoming at Fort Valley. Now, after the game, there might be a little bit of something that might be coming down from the conference, but the actual game, Central State was able to get the dub in a hostile territory. And, who'd have thunk it? Next week, Morehouse, Central State, both teams coming in on a win streak.
Yeah, I know. I wouldn't have thought that. Last one that I'm gonna give a helmet sticker to, and I guess this is the non-helmet sticker to, because we don't give helmet stickers only to HBCU teams, but Morgan was on the bad end of this. Thomas' third touchdown pass, last play, Hail Mary lifted Georgetown past Morgan State, 27 to 24. Great come from behind, what looked like to be a victory, hard fought for Morgan State as they were up 24-21. Literally a last second effort, Hail Mary. Dez Thomas II fired a 49-yard touchdown pass to Jimmy Kimmel on the last play of the game to lift the Georgetown Hoyas to a dramatic 27-24 win over Morgan State on Saturday. I was in the stadium watching the game, and I saw a friend, Reggie. Shout out to Reggie Wilcox, whose daughter is looking to join Hampton's softball team. So they were out there, and we were randomly in the line getting in there. And so I switched back to see, all right, it was like seconds left. And I was trying to figure out who had the ball, what was going on. And I was like, okay, just stayed there for the 3 seconds. So I went back to get the live feed. By the time I get the live feed, I see him walking on the field shaking hands. I said, okay, Morgan must have got this victory. And then they show the play. I was like, oh no. I told a couple of folks around me because they heard me say Morgan. But I said they lost on the Hail Mary. Everybody just dropped their head. It's like, what? So, yeah, not being able to give a helmet sticker to anybody for the Morgan State Bears is challenging because they did everything right except for a last play Hail Mary. It slid right over the defensive back to the wide receiver's hand that falls into the middle part of the end zone for the victory. Just wow.
How you lose to John Thompson's basketball team? I mean, who even knew Georgetown had football?
Well, unfortunately, we do now. And you're exactly right. We trying to figure that out. Let's take our first break and come back on the other side and get into the top 7 scores and see what took place there.
Hello, my name is Jeremiah Williams, a defensive lineman, and I am a proud member of Jackson State University Tigers football team. Me and my team are visiting Las Vegas, Nevada for the HBCU Las Vegas Classic. We would love to dine at Chick-fil-A located at 9830 West Flamingo Road. I encourage you to do the same for great food, fantastic dining experience. The owner and operator, Ron Peterson, a graduate of Prairie View A&M University, will be excited to have you as a guest. Go Tigers, go Swag, and eat more chicken.
Yeah. I love my HBCU. And boy, I love it, love it.
For over 30 years, HBCU Image has been more than just an apparel store. We've been a movement, a statement, a legacy. We celebrate the pride, the purpose, and the culture that make historically black colleges and universities legendary. Whether you're a student or a lifelong supporter, our gear lets you wear your HBCU story with confidence and style. Because when you wear HBCU Image, you're not just wearing clothes. You're wearing culture. You're wearing pride. You're wearing purpose. HBCU Image, a Kenny T's company.
Compress the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they want a law, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Cavil with Inside HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Mike Washington's on assignment, so it's Charles Bishop and A.D. Drew giving you a Sunday morning edition of Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Let's get into the top 7 scores and see what they did this weekend. We told you there are a couple of 50-point scores, so get ready for that. Number 1, Jackson State improves to 4-1, 2-0 in terms of the conference race as they defeat number 8, Alabama A&M Bulldogs, 3-3 in Mobile, who are 0-2 in terms of that. That was 57-24 in terms of that matchup. Let's go to number 2. And actually, the Alabama State defeated number 10, Bethune-Cookman. And Alabama State comes in at number 2, 4-1 now, improving on the season at 2-0, while Bethune-Cookman falls to 2-4, 1-1, 52-14. It was interesting to watch that game. You were like, Alabama State is really looking good. They were putting up the points, 52-14, and they played earlier. Then it comes back with Jackson State. So you want to see what they do. They start out kind of like they have done before, with a really good contest, looking very secure in the game, but not necessarily running away with it. Then they step on the gas, as Charles talked about, and it looked like almost you were saying, you can do it, we can do it better. So they put up 52. Jackson State let's put up 57. I'm like, really?
Can I say one other thing about that game, Dr. Cavil?
Go ahead.
There were a lot of people, Tuskegee, the Morehouse Tuskegee Classic was started at 6:00, and the Alabama State homecoming game started at 2. There were a lot of people who came over from Alabama State's homecoming to the Morehouse Tuskegee Classic over at Crafton Bowl, and the 2 stadiums are just over a mile apart. So,
nice. Double dip.
Shout out to those HBCU fans who just there to do both.
Yeah, I love it.
Quick correction, Doc. I think the final score was 52-35. Yeah.
I was going to get it up in there in terms of that score. It's 52-35, while the Jackson State game was 57-24. So just want to make sure we get that update there. Let's go to number 3. which North Carolina Central, they stay at 4-2 because they were open this date. But interesting to see as they have a key matchup facing the SWAC next weekend. With that being said, we talked a little bit about this game. Number 4 is Prairie View A&M, improved to 4-2 overall, 3-0 in terms of the SWAC. And while Alcorn State falls to 0-5, 0-2 in the SWAC. Nip and tuck game, 13-12, as Braves attempt at a winning field goal falls just short, just right in terms of that game. So interesting to see what took place there. Key part of that game was, the coaches always tell you, play it all the way out. They were able to get a block, extra points after the Braves took a touchdown and went up. And that block ended up being the difference of the game in terms of giving them a chance not to tie the game with the field goal, but actually win the game with the successful field goal that Prairie made after missing one early in that conference. We chug along. Let's go to number 5. Number 5 is South Carolina State Bulldogs. As they continue to get stuff done, obviously the record there is incorrect when you look at the MEAC. They continue to play good football. They're even up their record at 3-3, but they defeat Savannah State 31-24 in terms of that matchup. So they get it done. Slow start, but South Carolina State jumped out there 14-3 in the first quarter, and then were able to back things up, score later. They pulled away late in that game, 49-6 was the final score there in that matchup. Let's go on to our next score, if you would, is Howard Bison as they stay at 3-2. They were open date this weekend in terms of what it looks like there. Then number 7, the Delaware State Hornets, after getting off to a hot streak, they played tough FCS components, one that they probably think got away last week, but this one was close, but not enough as they fall to Monmouth out of the Colonial. Monmouth improves to 4-1, 1-0 in conference race, while Delaware State falls to 3-3, and still have not played a conference game, as you know. Final in that matchup was 49-38. Those are your top 7 scores. Let me go to Charles and give your thoughts in terms of any of these contests that, in terms of the top 7.
I'll go to the game that I was calling with Prairie View and Alcorn. I think, it was kind of a defensive. Unfortunately for Alcorn, if it could go wrong, it did yesterday. But you credit Prairie View. They made, that one play. And we've seen that during the course of the year, whether it's a drive or when they have to get it done, they've gotten it done. So they're taking advantage with regards to what they're getting done over there in the SWAC West. And again, you see week in, week out, this is a team that just keeps building more and more confidence in regards to stacking up these wins. And the other big thing from yesterday, Alabama State and Jackson State. I think, both of those teams made a definitive statement yesterday with regards to, it is collision course. So like you said, Jackson State is like, hold my beer. We'll see your 52 and raise 57. So
that was the kicker. That was the hilarious part of the game. I do want to give a special shout out to Texas Southern. I thought that game would be interesting. They're not playing not on campus, and nor are they playing obviously at the home stadium. That game was moved to what is now ACU, Houston Christian University. Many people know it by Houston Baptist University. Brought that football a couple of years ago. But fascinating when you talk about that. In that matchup, Texas Southern, the Tigers put up 51 points as they defeat Pine Bluff 51-7. Hold them scoreless for much of the game. They didn't allow the Golden Lions to get anything going. Total domination very early in that matchup. So it's fascinating there. And working through some stuff with A.D. Drew. A.D. Drew, go ahead and give your thoughts in terms of top 7 scores.
Well, although nothing surprised me, and I said this on the beginning, that the way that the scores turned out. It's not the fact that who won and who lost. It's how they won, how they lost. But so many times over the years, the matchup that we have wanted to see usually disappoints us the week before because somebody winds up losing. going into that key matchup. Well, not this year. We knew Alabama State, Jackson State on homecoming back in July was a key matchup that everybody wanted to see. And thus far, both teams are doing the part. This is our modern version of Ali Frazier that everybody wants. Everybody wanted to see this fight with two teams who are healthy, coming heads up into each other. Also, your school, Dr. Cavil, where you work at Texas Southern, despite the early loss, staying in the race and making themselves relevant back in the race. Dare I say it? Is Texas Southern right now the second best team in the West?
Yeah,
I would think so. Which
you can make an argument, yeah.
Which that early Labor Day Classic that used to play FAMU at Jackson State when they played the opening week of the season. Could that be the determining factor in the West this year? The game no one thought would actually determine the race. Right now, I can't see another team outside of Prairie View who I would favor in the West.
Charles, any thoughts on that?
No, I mean, I think that's a fair assessment in terms of the way Texas Southern played yesterday. And I'm looking at Texas Southern, you know that there was a lot of talent. That was a huge win for Prairie View to start the win off, a last-second win. But this is a team that can run the football. And like I said, I wanted to see KJ Cooper kind of get up and going with regards to the passing game. And we saw that yesterday as he was able to hit Richardson on some big passes. So 51 points from Texas Southern. We haven't heard or said that in a long, long time. So that was impressive.
Yeah, I don't know if you've seen that since the cold days, baby. I'm not sure how many times he actually put up 51, but I know he put up quite a few 40, 30, maybe a 51 in there. But they did some scoring back in his day, and that's been a while. I think there's some people that may argue that besides, obviously, the head-to-head matchup, thinking about the fact that it went that literally to the last play, I think some people would argue maybe Texas Southern is the best team in the West outside of record, just looking at what they're doing. I think the other part is interesting. This I'd like to get some of your thoughts on. Start with you, Drew. Is what is it shaping up in terms of the East Division over the West Division? When you think about that, how close that Valley and Texas Southern game was, even though Texas Southern did miss some field goals and left some points. But that's a scrappy team. You do have the fact that Southern did defeat Valley. That game didn't count. But, man, the East and how deep it is in terms of what it's doing in the West is going to be intriguing to me as we get a lot of more of those intra-division matchups. What does that look like? So, Drew, what are your thoughts in terms of East versus West in the SWAC?
I don't have the schedules in front of me. Does Prairie View play either one of the top two teams?
They play Alabama State.
They play Alabama State in a couple of weeks.
Okay. Dare I say, is there an opportunity for the first time in on-campus championship game history for the championship game to go west?
It's possible.
Because
let's and it may not even because it could be better records. So I can see that falling out where the team goes west because Prairie View somehow goes undefeated, which I think is going to be struck. But they say they do that. But you get a matchup where Alabama State somehow beat Jackson State, but then Alabama State loses to Prairie View. Yeah, exactly. Now you have even what still most people would think are the best two teams. Let's say that game where Alabama State loses to Prairie View is really close, last second field goal. Just throwing it out there. You can say, and Alabama State still looks really good. Well, now you got Alabama State having to travel to Prairie View, saying they beat Jackson State. I know that's a tough one, but it goes either way. But yeah, there's some scenarios where you could see what you would think the stronger East Division team actually has to go west for a championship, just the way scheduling things worked out. So yeah, go ahead, Drew.
Yeah, that was the scenario that I was going to bring up. That's why I was going to tell Charles to close his ears because he don't usually want to think about that scenario of Jackson State losing. But, you for podcast purposes, Charles, we have to have these discussions.
Thank you for letting him know how we will rationalize having this discussion. But Charles, what are your thoughts in terms of this East-West, the way it's shaping up? You told us the first year, keep your eye on the East. And boy, you look not just clairvoyant, but honestly, you look almost like a genius because it hasn't been close since in terms of the way the East is dominated. But it looks like it may have been turned even stronger in terms of the East. I know the game's got to be played. But
it does seem as though from a recruiting standpoint, from a physicality standpoint, that the SWAC East looks really, really dominant. Even when I was taking a look at that Mississippi Valley State squad, they don't back up with regards to physicality. That was the thing that kind of jumps out at you. Like, it was a hard luck, but the fight in them was still quite a bit. So, it's very interesting to kind of look at the East as a whole because one thing they're going to do is they're going to run the football. And I think TC said it last year in regards to Jackson State, that you got to match their physicality. So that's something that I do kind of pay attention to in regards to looking at the ball being played in the East.
Yeah, that's something I think we got to continue to look at as we go further into the season, just to see the hidden stats behind the stats. But let's get into the top 7 in our next segment, and then we'll get into the final segment where we get to actually talk about the game that everybody wants to talk about. But before we do that, let's release the top 7 and see what that looks like. We'll be right back after this second break and come back on the other side and do just that.
ESPN Events presents Red Lobster Band of the Year, a title reserved for elite HBCU marching bands. A season-long competition that culminates in Atlanta on Friday, December 12th. Drum majors, percussion, drill, auxiliaries, musicality. All aspects will be examined by the toughest judges in the world of college bands. 4 will qualify for the big stage, where national champions will be crowned. Follow us on social media for rankings updates throughout the season. And join us in Atlanta on December 12th. For event and ticket information, visit bandoftheyear.com.
Hello, my name is Trevon Jones, a tight end at Prairie View A&M University Panthers football team. When me and my family and teammates are out in Las Vegas, we like to dine at Chick-fil-A, located on 9830 West Flamingo Road. I encourage you to do the same, and for good food and a fantastic dining experience. The owner and operator, Ron Peterson, is a graduate of Prairie View A&M and will be excited to see you as a guest. Go Panthers, go SWAC. Hey, Emo Chicken.
Yeah. I love my HBCU. Press the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna lose, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Cavil inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington, Charles Bishop. Mike Washington is out on assignment, so we have the professors in here, Professor Bishop, Professor Drew. Let's get in this top 7 to see if anything changed this week. But as we do that, we're going to look at the unveiling of the top 7 in week number 6 as things get going. With that being said, let me tell you who's dropping out of the poll this week. We have Delaware State Hornets. They do drop out of the poll after another tough loss in terms of that. The Delaware State Hornets fall to 3-3 after that loss we told you against Monmouth. So they're dropping out this week. Let's see those receiving votes that are just outside of that top 7 trying to make things happen. Those Delaware States, Hornets, while they drop out, they do stay in the mix. Essentially at number 8, just outside of that at 3-0, 147 points. Grambling State Tigers did not play open date. They get things and they'll have a good matchup. It'll go deeper in terms of what it looks like in the West. We'll get a little clarity again between their matchup. with the Texas Southern Tigers. Grambling stayed at 3-2, 0-1, and do slide a bit in receiving votes, being open that week with 128 points. Still finding a way to stay in the mix there is Alabama A&M. What they banked in the early part of the season has them receiving votes, and what other folks maybe not doing. Um, they fall to 3-3, 0-2 in the conference race, but they played two of the toughest teams in that conference, Eastern Division. So we'll see what that looks like. Or at least one of them. The East in the SWAC is fascinating to me. But that being said, let's get in the top 7. Doing just that at number 7, we have a new interest, Texas Southern Tigers. 2-3, 2-1. They jumped in the top 7, not ranked 149 points based on what they've done overall. They could easily be 3-2 if they could have gotten one more stop in the Labor Day Classic. Not do that, and they would be 3-0. But the way life has it, they're 2-3, 2-1, but they are in the top 7. Again, they have a fascinating matchup, 7 versus 9, essentially, where they go to Grambling State. So we get to see, can they make that statement and to say that they are the best team, if not one of the best teams in the Western Division. Bring us to number 6. Number 6, the Howard Bison. Howard Bison did not play, but they found a way to stay in the mix. At number 6, they're 3-2. As they have 159 points, they stay ranked at number 6. Moving on, let's get into number 5 in terms of what that looks like. At number 5, you have the South Carolina State Bulldogs out of the MEAC. They improved to 3-3 after a win over Savannah State, but they stay at the 5th spot in terms of South Carolina State Bulldogs. Bringing us to number 4, Prairie A&M Panthers. The Cardiac Cats, or the Cardiac Panthers, continue to live on the edge, but they make big plays defensively and enough offensively to get it done. They improved to 4-2, 3-0, 182 points as they keep moving. Let's look at the top 3 and see what the top 3 looks like. North Carolina Central out of the MEAC, 4-2. They were open this weekend. They hold on to their first place vote. They do lose a couple of points as the 2 teams above them seem to steady things out, but they stay at the 3 spot. At number 2, you have Alabama State Hornets, improved to 4-1, 2-0 in the conference race. 5 first place votes, 216 points as they add some points and get a little closer from a points perspective to Jackson State, but they stay in the 2nd spot, which means Jackson State stays at number 1. 12 straight weeks at number 1, and they do it in dominating fashion in a classic over Alabama A&M Bulldogs. Jackson State Tigers improved to 4-1, 2-0, 6 first place votes, 2-0, which means next week you will get number 1 hosting the number 2 team for a lot of the marbles as Jackson State Tigers remain number 1 after week number 6. That is your top 7. Charles kind of lit up when I said number 7, so I'm going to go straight to him to see what is his thoughts in terms of the top 7. Before we do that, let me say this again. At number 7, Texas Southern Tigers. At number 6, Howard Bison. At number 5, South Carolina State Bulldogs. At number 4, Prairie A&M Panthers. At number 3, North Carolina Central Eagles. At number 2, Alabama State Hornets. At number 1, Jackson State Tigers. Charles, what are your thoughts on the top 7 in week number 6?
Yeah, I think kudos number 1 to Chris Bishop. The way he has Texas Southern performing right now. They've won 2 in a row, and they have a crew of linebackers week in, week out. They're going to be making plays. I think all 3 of them, if I'm not mistaken, are in the top 10 with regards to tackles in the SWAC. But Isaiah Bogarty, Matthew Cooks, Charles George, all of those guys, they really fly around the ball. They have a tremendous running back in Athian Renfro. So kudos to Chris Dishman in that Texas Southern football team for getting in the poll. Poll looks about right this upcoming week in terms of taking a look at everybody. And to borrow a Sunday morning reference, Doc, this is Alabama State's come to Jesus moment in terms of this game against Jackson State, going there to Jackson to take on number 1 team in the nation. But you take a look at the bigger picture of it. Alabama State has gone to Jackson once before and beat Jackson State on their homecoming. So there are a lot of great storylines going into this game.
Yeah, you can go in many directions. They get over the hump with FAMU on the road. And they got to get it done against Jackson State on the road. If they do that, you talking about getting it done in fine fashion. You getting those 2 teams on the road and figuring it out. That is a heck of a standard. A lot to be played for after that, but certainly a major statement there. With that being said, AD Drew, where are you with the top 7 in week number 6?
But before I talk about me, I just want to know what D-Champ is smoking this morning. I voted Delaware State at number 4. I'm not sure if I'm ready to put TSU that high yet. Too early for that this morning. You gotta wait till noon before you roll D-Champ. Because it looked like he was rolling early this morning. Anyway.
He got Delaware State at number 4.
Yeah. I have no.
He gonna be lucky if he get to keep voting.
I have no problems with anybody in here. South Carolina State. I'm not sold on South Carolina State yet, like I traditionally have been sold on the Tennis Berry coached team. But this kind of reminds you of those South Carolina State teams of Buddy Pugh, tough non-conference schedule. They kind of float along.
Yeah.
And then come conference play, they're battle tested. They come in barely above the Mendoza line, but they got another BAC title. So, South Carolina State, this particular version looks like this may be one of those type teams, and I'm not taking anything away from North Carolina Central, who is showing to be a little more consistent. So, one more non-conference tune-up for most of the BAC teams before it really counts. So, it's going to be interesting to see what that happens, especially with that last opponent. While some of them are playing some of the Bishop Sycamores of college football, some of them have a real battle in that last non-conference matchup. Look, 1 and 2 gonna take care of itself next week. We'll leave that alone. We'll leave that for all the talk that we'll have throughout the week. We'll have a clear number 1 next week, no matter what. Howard still kind of in there by default, so we'll leave that one alone. Texas Southern, once again, despite the 3 losses, throw the game when they went all the way out to California and just picked up a paycheck. Texas Southern has looked good even in those other 2 defeats. We know about the one when they lost to Prairie View, but they have looked good once again. I know it's early, but it's something about Chris Dishman's team that I kind of like and think that they're gonna be a player where Tremaine Jackson better not slip up, because the moment he slips up, he lets Texas Southern right back in the door. Now he has to slip up twice for Texas Southern to overtake him because they have the tiebreaker over Texas Southern, but it can make for a real interesting race, especially if Texas Southern goes into Grambling this week and handles their business.
Yeah, that's a fascinating matchup that we'll take a deeper dive in the next segment. But I want to also ask you from this perspective, can North Carolina Central Eagles make enough of a statement saying that they find a way to get it done at FAMU, but how they get it done, if they do, at FAMU, what does that do for you in terms of them maybe moving up in the ranking, or at least showing that they belong with Jackson State and Alabama State, Charles?
Yeah, I think that's the thing that I was kind of paying attention to. Let's just say North Carolina Central, they go down there and they dominate FAMU, still imposing place to play when going to Bragg. And you have Jackson State, Alabama State that hangs in the balance until, the last possession. You could see North Carolina Central sort of vaulting to be the number 1 team in the poll ranking. So, that scenario could very easily play out, at least in my head.
AD Drew, where are you with that?
I don't see that no matter outside of one of these 2 teams losing this game by 3 or 4 scores, one of those top 2 teams getting blown out. I do not see North Carolina Central being able to vault either one of these teams into the number 2 position, because this is not a FAMU team right now, dare I say it, that is getting any respect when it comes to the polls. In July, that statement that you made, Dr. Cavil, would be very true. In October of 2025, no, Central beating FAMU, even if it's a competitive game, we're going to be talking about what did Central do to keep FAMU into the game versus what did FAMU do to put themselves into the position. It's going to be Central losing the game more than FAMU winning the game. And because of that scenario, no matter, in my opinion right now, no matter who loses that game next week, I still think that team is number 2. Even if Alabama State, who's currently number 2, loses, it would take a lot of style points for me not to leave them at number 2.
Yeah, good points by both of y'all. I'm fascinated what that looked like. When you talk about those last 4, it's interesting. 2 of them seem dominant on the defensive side when you talk about Prairie View and the Panthers and the Howard Bison. And 2 of them are really solid in terms of what they can do offensively. South Carolina State and Texas Southern, and pretty solid defensively. So it'll be interesting to see kind of how that shapes up, particularly now that we've seen a sample size of games, how you start analyzing matchups in terms of the strength and weaknesses of teams. So I'm fascinated with this top 7. There's some room for mix at the bottom, but the top part certainly is solid in many different directions, ultimately, it seems. With that being said,
we got somebody want to chime in because they said I know he got something to say. He always got something to say about your poll, Doc.
Go ahead, Mike. Take off your mute.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, so I am stuck in the airport with delays, and it looks like I'm just in time for the top 7.
Yes, you are.
My goodness, my Lord. So I have nothing wrong with the top 4. No issues. Texas Southern that's a head scratcher. Why would we not have Delaware State? I know Delaware State lost to Monmouth, but if you look at the entire body of work, Texas Southern's point up to here, their entirety, but comparing apples to apples, I don't know if I have Texas Southern up in the top 7. Outside of that, surprisingly, I have no issues with this poll. It resembles what I submitted, outside of Texas Southern being in the top 7.
The only thing I would say about Delaware State, this is somewhat not somewhat, this is a week to week. And I do understand the totality, but Delaware State has lost 2 straight. How many times you going to let them lose before you punish them? And just be like, y'all okay, y'all stay at number 7.
I knew that was going to be the rationale. I knew it.
So then I would ask you, who's at the top of the MEAC standing division this week?
I guess you Central. I don't know. 4-2. They hadn't played a conference game. South Carolina State even things up. They played a couple of D2. So you should put some question there. Howard Bison, just like Howard Bison had a game they gave away. Morgan State, they lose on a Hail Mary. They probably would have had justification to be in there, but you're still avoiding my question. Delaware State has lost 2 games.
Yes, but they're higher in their poll. I believe they're either number 3, and you have Texas State. Texas Southern, which is at the bottom of the West.
He being ugly. He called Texas State.
I'm sorry, my bad. You got Texas Southern, which is at the bottom, along with Arkansas Pine Bluff at the bottom of the West. Does that make sense to have them as a top 7 team?
Texas Southern is actually number 2 in the West.
Yes, now they are, but up to this point,
that's what we're looking at it now.
Yeah,
this is week to week, Mike. This week they are number 2.
This is week to week. Okay. All right.
See, you gonna be like Dave, and you gonna get your voting rights restricted.
Yes, I'm just saying, look at the entire body of work and how many teams they played.
It's your vote, so you certainly could do that.
Exactly. So I just jumped in here, so I'm gonna withdraw all of my, because I see I'm outvoted on this one.
Safe travels, Mike. We'll be back after this last break and see you all other side so we can talk about some matchups.
I'll try to stay on, but I think I'm getting ready to board again. But I'll try to stay on as much as possible.
All right, no problem. We'll be right back after this break.
Greetings, Panthers. My name is Roland Austin, and I'm one of the directors at the 1876 Athletic Foundation. The 1876 Athletic Foundation was formed to promote the success of all 343 student athletes. Our overall goal is to fund scholarships for all of our student athletes. We ask that you help us in achieving this goal by donating to the 1876 Athletic Foundation via the QR code below or 1876.foundation. Your generous donation will help us continue to assist the needs of all of our Panther athletes. Thanks, and go Panthers.
Hello, my name is Nick Howard. I'm a wide receiver and a proud member of the Grambling State Football Tigers football team. When I and my team are visiting Las Vegas, Nevada for the HBCU Las Vegas Classic, we would love to dine at Chick-fil-A located at 9830 West Flamingo Road. I encourage you to do the same for great food and a fantastic dining experience. The owner and operator, Ron Peterson, a graduate from Prairie View A&M University, will be excited to have you as a guest. Go Tigers, go Sweat, and eat more chicken.
Yeah. I love my HBCU. And boy, I love it. Compress the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna love, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Cavil's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Watson, Charles Bishop, and AD Drew. Let's get into our last segment so we can talk about a couple of key matchups this weekend. I think the first one that jumps out, I was going to save it to last, but why do that? Let's get into it and talk about this 1 versus 2 matchup, Alabama State versus Jackson State. Alabama State has to go on the road, and they get a chance at the champs. So I'm fascinated to see what you all gentlemen think about this. Alabama State Hornets come in with the number 2 ranked team, one of the top offenses out there, quarterback that is certainly getting it done. The Hornets are 4-1, 2-0, same as the number 1 ranked Jackson State Tigers that come in with a conference championship, a national championship, trying to do it in back-to-back fashions. The Tigers are 4-1 overall, 2-0. With that being said, let me go to you, Mike, because I know you might have to make a move in terms of boarding and playing at any time. What are your thoughts in terms of this matchup, Mike?
Yeah, I think it's Ali Frazier. It's the matchup that we wanted to. It's what all of the games have alluded to. You also got the number 1 producing offense, teams that are scoring 35 plus points a game, also holding their defense or holding their opponent to less than 20. I don't have the exact score, so it's the matchup you want. I kind of wonder, is this one of those games where home field is really going to play now it's going to be a real big factor, or do we throw that out the thing and say, hey, this is Ali Frazier, it doesn't matter where they play, they could be playing in a garage or whatever, but this is it, this is what we've been saying. You wanted number 1 versus number 2. You wonder if Body is up to it. I think he's looking better. If you saw him yesterday, Body looked incredible. So I look forward to it. I wonder if you give the slight edge to the home team, but I don't know. This is a toss up in anybody's arena. So
Homecoming at that. Homecoming. AD Drew, what are your thoughts on this matchup?
You know, Mike went to the Ali Frazier comparison, which I had used earlier. I'm gonna give you another one. I know we're all Rocky fans in here. Cut me, big. Cut me, big.
Go ahead, Mike. Mute your mic. Yeah.
Yeah. This may be one that Cut Man has to do a lot of work in this particular matchup, because we talk about the offenses with the 2 quarterbacks of these 2 teams, but let's talk about these defenses. These are 2 stingy defenses that we have going here. And one thing, defense does travel, especially in this conference. These are 2 teams with excellent running games. Both teams like to run the ball. That's a good equalizer on the road also, which is why I think even more this is going to be one of those type matchups. And also, this matchup outside of who has control of the East, but this matchup may also determine a lot of the postseason awards, including Coach of the Year, Offensive Player of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year, because your top candidates in all the individual awards are on these two teams. So this may be the deciding factor on who the voters give those individual awards to throughout the at the end of the season. I am looking forward to it. First time in forever that I can remember these two teams coming in with one of these two teams not being wounded going into this matchup.
With that being said, I saved the best for last. I'll let Charles talk us into in framing this matchup, Charles.
Yeah, I think when you have two teams that are very similar in terms of explosive offenses, great defenses, you take a look at segments of the game, and I think whoever wins the battle in the red zone, I think that's going to be the big factor in this game in terms of who gets the stops, who makes a team settle for field goals. I think that's the big thing. I mean, when you have that limited space in the red zone, I think that's one of the things that you've seen with both of these teams that, you know, they rise to the occasion for big moments. So I think that's one of the big things that I'm looking at going into this game. And, you know, I think the sort of the ancillary, you know, to that is who is the team that kind of slows down the other one's running game. So those are the two big things that I'm looking at going into this game.
Y'all nailed it in terms of this matchup. It's fascinating. This is how we follow HBCU sports. We love these kind of matches. We don't often get them, particularly this early in the season. Also from a conference age. So intrigued about that. Cool with that. As Mike has to get to the plane, let's get into some of these other matchups. Let's see what else is fascinating out there. Kind of talked about this. Let's jump to this Grambling State Texas Southern matchup. This is a top 10 matchup. It gets you going in terms of what that looks like. And then we'll come back to some of these other matchups as we get into it. But this one's a top 10 matchup. 7 versus 9. Grambling State Tigers 3-2, 0-1. They need a victory to stay in the race. Obviously, Texas Southern cannot afford to take another loss. So, but they're rolling now. They put up 50 points, but they got to go to what is always a tough place to play, which is Grambling, Eddie Robinson G Stadium there. So, Charles, what are your thoughts in terms of this Tiger-on-Tiger matchup?
Yeah, I think for me, this is like for Texas Southern, can you get over the hump and get a big road win? I think that's one of the biggest things that you've seen for Texas Southern over the past few years in terms of they create a little bit of momentum, and then, you know, they go on the road and kind of lay an egg. So this is huge. And then you ask the question with regards to Grambling, you know, which Xavier T set are you going to get? You know, you got to have some consistency from the quarterback play from Grambling. I think that's one of the things Mickey Joseph has been talking about from week to week with regards to this offense. So big thing for me, Texas Southern's defense, slowing down Xavier T set and getting Athian Renfro up and rolling.
Good stuff. Drew, I want to know your thoughts on this top 10. We kind of teased it out of what is looking in the West. We have a lot of excitement for the Tigers. This is a true test as they got to go on the road, actually, to place Grambling, which is 7 at number 9, Grambling State Tigers.
I was born and raised in Missouri, and that means I'm from the Show Me State. And this is a show me game, as I like to call it.
I agree.
Grambling has not shown me the ability to do anything offensively against a quality opponent. So, despite the 3-2 record, I have not been impressed offensively from Grambling, while Texas Southern has been consistent offensively throughout the year and is improving offensively. So, right now, despite being on the road, you know, Texas Southern looks to be the better team to me. If Grambling can defend their home turf in Eddie T. Robinson Stadium and win this game, the whole conversation in the West all of a sudden changes. But right now, this is Texas Southern's prove it to me game. As far as I'm concerned, Texas Southern, we need you to be a player. Dr. Cavil wants you to be a player so that he can go ahead and follow you around this year. And wouldn't it be good to put Dr. Cavil in the position of choosing my employer versus my alma mater when it comes down to my rooting interest? So I would love to. I want to see Texas Southern stay in it. I think it's football is better when we have the state of Texas in the
Yeah,
mix when it's coming down to our championship type team.
I certainly agree. I certainly agree. Great comments. And yes, way to put me in the mix. I like that, ADG. Put me in the blender. Uh, with that being said, let's go to the MEAC SWAC Challenge, the last one we get before the real one at the end of the year when we have champion against champion. Fascinating. To me, this is a chance for North Carolina Central, as they like to do with Coach Trey, is make a statement. But it also means that the Rattlers got a chance to make a statement. North Carolina Central Eagles come in at 4-2. FAMU comes in at 1-3, 0-1. In terms of MEAC versus SWAC, MEAC is looking to go undefeated, at least in the regular season, against the SWAC as they open things up. Central got it done against Southern. They get another chance to make a statement before maybe if they can find a way to win the MEAC and have their final with the statement they really want to make against the SWAC at the end of the year. But there's some intriguing ways to look at this matchup. Used to be a conference game, obviously, some years back, but now it's inter-conference matchup between MEAC and SWAC. Central on the road against a FAMU team that needs a victory really bad to kind of clear the heads of a lot of folks' challenges of what they see with the Rattlers. Charles, what are your thoughts in terms of this matchup?
The question for me with Florida A&M is I don't know who they are. Do they have an offensive identity? I mean, it would be nice for to figure out, just who they are in this game. And it's very interesting to see coming off of a bye week if they figured out, hey, this is what we're about to start doing, and that's going to be the huge thing for me. You look at it on paper, you think North Carolina Central can go down there and get the W, and sort of the chink in the armor now we've seen Florida A&M lose at Bragg now. So this is a very huge game for the Rattlers to get up off the deck and to really make a statement and to reaffirm who they are with regards to that brand identity.
Drew, what are your thoughts?
Charles, you asked who FAMU is and offensive identity. You act like they have a defensive identity also that we can lean on, which they do not have any identity this year. Look, the unplanned bye week this week may be a benefit to Florida A&M, allow a couple people to heal up, allow some coaches to get in and do some strategizing. Did allow the coaches to get on the road and do some recruiting that they would not have been able to do. And I'm glad they was able to get and do some recruiting because, this cast of characters do not look like the cast of characters that FAMU can build for future. North Carolina Central. This is that quality tune-up. This is that last tune-up before everything counts. North Carolina Central is going to come out. They're going to have a specific game plan that they want to execute and want to give people in the MEAC something to think about against who we thought was a quality opponent. FAMU will play tough in this game. I just don't think FAMU, as constituted right now, especially with the quarterback situation in Tallahassee, actually will have enough to be able to defend Bragg.
Good stuff. I'm going to run through these next games and we'll break it down. We'll call it a show. Here's another interesting that keeps me up is number 5. South Carolina State Bulldogs are 3-3. As Drew alluded to, some question marks there, but they get a chance to go against North Carolina A&T State Aggies that are struggling, but have been playing better of late. They had a close matchup, couldn't hold on. William and Mary. So kind of fascinating just to see, can Bulldogs make a real statement, or will this be more intriguing, particularly going on the road, homecoming type of atmosphere. So I'm intrigued with that matchup from this perspective. Then we have number 6, Howard Bison, 3-3, and Sacred Heart Pioneers, 4-2. Can Howard Bison, a game they thought they should have won, can they find a way to make their own statement and get it done against Sacred Hearts? It's also a team that played Delaware State, so this gives us kind of a litmus test to see what that looks like from this perspective. Delaware State that Mike talked about, they play a Division II out of Northeast 10, so they got to find a way to make a statement. This is team 1-3, 1-1. Looks like the Hornets are number 8, can find a way maybe to get back to the winning ways at the 3-3. That's fascinating to see what that looks like. And in some ways, I'm kind of intrigued about this matchup with Valley and A&M in a lot of ways. Valley comes in struggling, but A&M has an offense. Quarterback got nicked up in that game also. So interesting to see what Valley can do against Alabama A&M in that matchup. With that being said, the last one is Southern Jaguars. 1-4 on one. Bethune-Cookman Wildcats, also a team that we said offensively can get it done. Southern has struggled offensively. Maybe some questions on the defense. They had a week off, so they got to show some improvement. This is one from that perspective that has my interest. With that being said, let's shut it down, call it a show. We'll come out Tuesday, make sure everybody has safe travels, getting home and getting things done. But I do want to say thank you for listening to Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Make sure you share our podcast with your friends and colleagues. I am Dr. Kenyatta Cavil, the Dean of HBCU Sports, coming from inside the lab in the College of HBCU Sports with Mike Watson, Charles Bishop, A.D. Drew. Again, we want to thank you for listening to Dr. Cavil Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Watson, Charles Bishop. We're here every Tuesday and Thursday, 6 o'clock Central Standard Time, Sunday morning at 9 a.m. Whether we're on the road or at home, we're going to find a way to give you the sporting HBCU, the Asheville HBCU sports culture from inside the lab in terms of what it looks like. Again,
look at Mike showing off. Look at Mike showing off, Dr. Cavil. Sitting in first class seats.
I'm going to leave that alone, boy. Again, we want to thank you for listening to Dr. Cavil Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Watson, Charles Bishop, every Tuesday and Thursday, 6 o'clock. We have Big Mike, first class, getting ready to get on the thing. I guess he'll get it closer to.
And they gave him his mimosa yet?
No, I just ordered it.
Follow me, Dr. Kenyatta on Threads, Facebook, Instagram. That's DrKenyattacavil. Inside the HBCU Sports Lab 1 on Facebook. And YouTube is Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. With that being said, dream big, continue to move forward. We will talk with you soon. Charles.
Of course.
Mike.
Lecture.
Drew.
Yes, best.
I thought he was going to have more than that. Thank you, Mike.
Did he?
Cool. He just the look.
I know. Did he say threads? What, Doc, you on threads now? What?
Shut it off.
Man, you on threads now?